Okay, so on this tutorial here, we're going to go to circuits right here. So you're on tinkercad.com. You're going to go to this circuits here, click circuits, create new circuit right here. And once you do, you'll be in the circuit design software. But we're going to go over here from basic to Arduino, and just go ahead and open the Blink tutorial, and then just drag it over here anywhere you want. And we'll click somewhere. There we go. Now I'm going to click code, and make sure code is not on blocks but on text right here. So you're going to move this, click here. So we clicked code, and then we're going to move this blocks down to text, put continue, and here we go. And as we talked about before, all it does is take pin mode for pin 13, which is that pin right here, and it sets it to an output, meaning it's going to send the signal out to the LED light. And then it does four things. It writes, digitally writes, and when you digitally write, you can only write high or low. That's all you can do. So you digitally write to pin 13, high, then it waits 1 second, 1,000, which is 1,000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. Then it digitally writes to pin 13, low, so it turns it off, and then it waits 1,000 milliseconds, 1 second before it returns back and does this all again. So now we're going to talk a little bit about variables. And there's different ways to write variables, but right now I'm going to write one variable called an int variable. And that's called, an int is an integer, meaning it's a whole number only. And I'm going to name it anything you want. You can call it Swanson, you can call it counter, whatever you want. So I'm going to set it to counter, and I'm going to set it equal to, for right now I'm going to set it to, let's say, 100. I'm going to set it to 1,000. And so I have this variable, it's called counter, and it equals to 1,000. So instead of 1,000 right here, where it says delay, let's see if I can zoom in for you guys. There we go. So instead of 1,000 here, I can totally just write the word counter, because it equals 1,000 anyway. And I could do the same thing here, counter. And when I push play, it should, let's see if we can start simulation. Oops. The reason there's an error is because I forgot on a line of code, you always have to put a semicolon here at the end. So my mistake. So there we go, a semicolon there. And I'm going to go ahead and put start simulation. There you go, it's blinking 1 second on, 1 second off, 1 second on, 1 second off. That's all it's doing. And if I were to change this right here, and the cool thing about variables is, let's say there's a ton of spots that I wanted to change where this was at, I could just change it here and say 200 milliseconds, and then push start simulation, and it's going to blink much faster, see? 200 milliseconds on, 200 milliseconds off. We could also do cool stuff like this. Like, I can do 1,000 milliseconds, and then it's going to turn on, wait 1,000 milliseconds, turn off, and wait 1,000 milliseconds. Then watch this fifth line of code. I'm going to push enter. I'm going to have a new line of code right here. I'm going to say set counter equal to counter, the same number, but let's say minus, I'm going to make it get smaller each time by 50 milliseconds. Don't forget the semicolon at the end of the code. So here, it's going to blink 1 time per second. Technically 2 seconds, because it's 1 second on, 1 second off. Then it's going to reduce it by 50 milliseconds and then repeat. So start. And each time it's going to get a little faster and faster. So you're getting faster and faster and faster. Now it's getting really fast. At one point it's going to get so fast it's going to glitch out. And there's ways to fix that. So the best way to do that is to just put something called an if statement, an else statement, but we're going to learn that a different day. So I want you to change this code around a little bit to make it work for you guys as far as the assignment. So this is not exactly what you're supposed to do for today's assignment, but I think you know enough now that maybe you can change this sign, change this value, or change this initial value so that it works, and then you'll be doing it correctly.